Circadian rhythms. Most people think they're lazy. They're not. Their circadian chemistry is destroyed. If you wake up tired, unfocused, and mentally weak, this isn't your personality. It's a biological failure. Your sleep decides your discipline. Your discipline decides your life. You don't need motivation. You need correct hormones at the correct time. Deep sleep is not self-care. It's power. Why falling asleep and waking up are no longer natural. Falling asleep and waking up are not supposed to require effort. They are automatic processes built into the human body. And when these processes break, when falling asleep becomes difficult, sleep becomes shallow, and mornings feel heavy, the problem is almost never willpower or psychology. The need to consciously regulate such basic functions appears for one fundamental reason. The environment we live in no longer matches the environment our body was designed for. The human organism is a system of self-regulation. It doesn't need constant control when conditions align with biology. But modern life consistently violates those conditions. There are several key factors that disrupt the natural mechanisms of sleep and wakefulness. Noise, stress, and adrenaline. The first factor is noise pollution. During the day, noise is perceived by the nervous system as a potential threat. Even if you consciously ignore it, the body reacts automatically by releasing adrenaline. Adrenaline exists for action, for movement, for response. But when physical activity is low, adrenaline is not discharged. It remains in the bloodstream into the evening and night, interfering with falling asleep and fragmenting sleep. Adrenaline signals unresolved danger. And as long as that signal remains, the body does not enter deep recovery mode. This is why many people go to bed physically tired but internally tense. The body wants rest, the nervous system stays alert. Artificial light and melatonin disruption. The second factor is excessive artificial cold light. Screens, indoor lighting, car headlights, all of them sends the same message to the eyes. The day is not over. For the brain, this means one thing: night has not arrived. Melatonin production is suppressed or delayed. Without proper melatonin, sleep loses its restorative depth. It becomes a mechanical shutdown of consciousness rather than true recovery. You may sleep for 7 or 8 hours and still wake up unrested. Monotony and artificial stimulation before sleep. The third factor is lack of variation in daily activity and environment. When there is no emotional amplitude during the day, no real tension and release, the nervous system never completes the daily cycle. As a result, in the evening, there is a need to artificially stimulate oneself with thoughts, alcohols, memories, or the internet. This is not weakness. It's the nervous system attempting to create some form of state transition before shutting down. Low movement, adenosine, and blood sugar. The fourth factor is physical inactivity. Low movement leads to insufficient accumulation of adenosine, the primary neurotransmitter of fatigue. At the same time, blood sugar remains elevated, and elevated blood sugar always signals action, not rest. This creates a paradox. You feel subjectively tired, but biochemically your body does not receive permission to sleep. Social density and the inability to fully relax. The fifth factor is constant proximity to unfamiliar people. A person can fully relax either alone or among very familiar individuals. From this perspective, apartment buildings are an unfavorable environment. Even in silence, the presence of other people is registered consciously and subconsciously, through sound, movement, and awareness. Any unknown presence is interpreted by the nervous system as potential threats, and this reduces readiness for deep relaxation. Artificial time and circadian desynchronization. The sixth factor is artificially imposed time. Official clock time often differs from solar time. In some regions, natural light exposure is fundamentally inadequate, and this reduces readiness for deep relaxation. This creates chronic circadian desynchronization. The body lives in a day and night cycle it was never designed for. Tactile deprivation. Another underestimated factor is the lack of tactile culture. Both tactile contact with close people and tactile interaction with materials used in the bedroom. Touch is a direct language of safety for the nervous system. When this language is absent, full relaxation becomes harder to achieve. The foundations of circadian rhythms. The primary regulator of circadian hormonal processes is the sun, its presence and its absence. The core cycle is the synthesis and accumulation of serotonin during the day and its conversion into melatonin at night. Serotonin is produced when sunlight reaches the retina and activates specific receptors. Vitamin D, synthesized in the skin through sunlight exposure, indirectly supports this process. If insufficient serotonin is accumulated during the day, there is nothing to convert into melatonin at night. In this case, falling asleep either doesn't occur or becomes a mechanical loss of consciousness without real relaxation. Hormonal pairs of day and night. There are other key hormonal ignition and shutdown pairs. In the morning, cortisol and testosterone dominate. Cortisol accelerates metabolism and resource seeking. Testosterone supports competitiveness and action. In the evening, dominance shifts to adenosine and prolactin. Adenosine signals accumulated fatigue. Prolactin supports recovery and emotional bonding. The final balance is adrenaline and GABA. The body expects a certain amount of adrenaline to be produced and discharged through movement each day. Only after that does GABA initiate mental inhibition and calm. This is why the earlier you begin producing and spending adrenaline from movement, the faster and stronger the natural desire to sleep appears. Sleep depth and morning freshness. The longer it takes to get out of bed, and the more preparation waking up requires, the worse the sleep was. Restorative sleep is natural precisely because all systems wake up about 15 minutes before consciousness returns. You don't manually start the system, you step into a mechanism already running. The ideal state looks like this. You fall asleep without remembering how, experience deep, uninterrupted dreams, and wake up as if you drank 2 strong coffees and heard the most energizing soundtrack imaginable. Any deviation from this formula signals unhealthy processes. What we accept as normal defines our perception of energy, resilience, and capacity. Sleep as the foundation of self-development. Do not accept morning exhaustion or endless attempts to fall asleep as normal. These states are reversible, and restoring them unlocks an entirely different quality of life. The true dividing line between high-functioning individuals and everyone else is stress tolerance and recovery capacity. What we accept as normal defines our perception of energy, resilience, and capacity. You cannot go far if increasing demands destroy your ability to recover. Deep, tranquil sleep is truly a luxury of kings, and any serious conversation about self-development begins with full physical, mental, and emotional recovery. The culture and biochemistry of waking up. The most important factor in waking up is self-navigation, not external stimulation. The first 15 to 20 minutes set the tone for the entire day. The most powerful action is cultivating gratitude, mentally reviewing what already exists and what lies ahead, deciding that you can handle it even if everything goes wrong. Having something pleasant as the first action of the day sets the baseline of pleasure that all subsequent events align with. Consistency turns this micro-practice into a new daily pattern. Waking up earlier than the majority reduces exposure to collective psychological pressure. The difference between waking at 7 o'clock and 5 o'clock is like the difference between being hit unexpectedly and seeing the strike coming in time to respond. Cooling the environment gently but powerfully awakens the body. Waking from cool air creates stable alertness, unlike a harsh alarm. Low morning blood sugar activates cortisol. Going to bed without food allows the body to wake up with a natural drive for movement and resource seeking. The culture and biochemistry of falling asleep. For waking up, lower environmental temperature is effective. For falling asleep, the key is loss of body temperature. This is why hot showers or intense training followed by cooling are so effective. Low blood sugar increases sleepiness, as sleep allows the body to restore balance. Healthy sleep is impossible without access to clean, fresh air. You may fall asleep in a stuffy room, but that sleep has little restorative value. Light exposure must be adjusted. Warm lighting, blue light blocking, screen filters, sound matters as well. Earplugs if necessary, consistent ambient noise, absence of background interference. The risks of melatonin supplementation. First, melatonin doses in most supplements are excessive. They suppress natural production and often lead to dose escalation. Second, regular melatonin intake elevates prolactin levels chronically. Whether that's desirable is questionable. Third, it disrupts the body's internal regulation by creating uncertainty. Should melatonin be produced internally or expected from an external source? Sleep is not rest. Sleep is reconstruction. Fix your circadian rhythm, and discipline stops being a struggle. You don't need more willpower. You need correct chemistry at the correct time. If this video helped you, subscribe now, because we are just getting started.